Welcome to Aid Station Cuisine, a podcast for connecting endurance athletes and their personal experiences with the intersection of food, culture, and athletics. The show is presented by PawAnRepeat Media LLC, and I am Kyle Petronio, your host, producer, founder, and owner of PawAnRepeat Media. So our show format is a bit more open-ended than other podcasts out there, so listen in and we'll give you a general rundown. So our guest, they are known as the chef. That could be the master example of a cooking legend, whether that be through food or athletic ability. That's up to you to decide, of course. And the host, typically yours truly, although that may vary, will ask the guest several open-ended questions before allowing them to discuss a topic of their choosing. So you're looking at about a 30 to 45 minute episode counter each time, which is a great duration for those of you who like to multitask or would rather intentionally listen. Nothing too crazy here. Now, to introduce our guest. Our chef today is Austin Lewis, a dedicated salesman during the work day, turned ultra runner and shutterbug the rest of the time. If you'll notice, we have two separate cameras that are kind of running concurrently. Don't know how that's going to turn out, but we'll find out. I had another note in here that you just don't know how to put down a camera, because we were talking about how amateurs are actually better than pros.
Well, that's just crazy. I don't even know how to work a camera. So even that, nonsense. I got that kind of reputation from you guys is, I'll run with it. I'm just an auto shoot guy anyways.
Auto mode?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Did you ever play like the old Need for Speed games? I'm thinking of like Autolog.
Yes, absolutely.
Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, shout out.
Most Wanted.
Most Wanted?
Yeah.
What's the best Need for Speed game?
Probably Hot Pursuit. I used to play that on my PSP.
Okay.
Great game.
Okay.
Great game.
I think I played it on like iOS. Anyway, we're getting way off topic.
Already.
Man, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, bro?
I'm so good, dude. I trying to not break out in laughter because we've known each other for a while, and we just went to a bandit run this morning. Is your first bandit run ever? Shout out.
Yes.
The bandit racing team here in Ann Arbor, Michigan, not Columbus. The Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah.
And you're from Ohio, I believe, correct?
Ohio boy. Yes, me and Quinn.
Yeah, you and Quinn Williamson, who ironically has been on another podcast that we're not going to shout out here. No, we're definitely going to call out the pre-race podcast right here, right now, because it's, Adam Hughes. Love that guy, but we got Austin Lewis first, so take it, brother.
You guys are crazy. I can't believe you guys were talking about me on a run together. That's just an honor I'll take.
No, that's fair. Well, I guess my first question for you, have you ever been on a podcast before?
No, never.
I wasn't sure if you had like a shadow one. It was it's like, actually I've been on 10.
I'm a chronic podcaster.
What are some of your other favorite podcasts to listen to?
I listen to a lot of sports, like
sports
news.
Ball.
Oh yeah. I mean, mostly a
Cleveland
sports
Browns.
guy. Yes, Cleveland Browns. I'm trying to think of Ohio
R.I.P.
State.
Nick Chubb's ACL.
Everything.
Yeah.
We need him healthy now. And a new quarterback.
What Cleveland Brown would be the best at ultra marathons?
That's a great question. Probably, Nick Chubb, even though with his injuries, that's what makes him a good ultra athlete. The resilience, right?
You just
keep
power
coming back.
Right through. I have a little show note here kind of to just talk about our background on our friendship. I want you to start because I'm sure my perception is skewed. So, I don't know.
It was perfect when you sent over the show notes, and I was looking through it. The first one that you had was Mohican and Dog Stash, and I was thinking about it, the origin of it all is Trail Weekend now.
Yeah, Trail Weekend 2023 for context. It's a RF event, shout out. RF Events does a lot of local kind of trail and road races around the area, I would say.
Yeah, it was
Southeastern Michigan.
That was my first ultra. It was my first 50K.
Really?
I ran at Woodstock. I did the marathon.
Yep.
I think I had a 5:30 finish or something crazy like that. That was one of my first trail races altogether.
Yeah.
And
I remember pictures of you from, well, not Woodstock, but Trail Weekend.
Yeah. No.
And,
Well, that's what I was about to say is it all started after that. You sent me like a invite to a community. It wasn't even like
I don't think I'd even talk to you at that point. I was just like, this guy seems like really cool.
I posted about like wanting to get involved in the trail community a little bit more. You send me something over about Dog Stash and like, hey, let's get together for some trail runs.
I guess like I should talk about what Dog Stash is. So originally, like the design for Dog Stash for PawAnRepeat actually was, I'd been running at Milford Trail, and I was thinking like this would be a really cool, like there was a beautiful sunset, and it's like a 6-mile loop, but there's almost like this little mini valley that it cuts through, and I'm like, I had seen like a lot of the aesthetic photo shoots of the time, so like some Jim Walmsley stuff maybe, and Courtney and Katie Scheid, and I was like, man, I want to get like really cool photography. Granted, it was kind of from like a monetary perspective initially, which then I was like, screw that. Let's just like run with a bunch of people. It's kind of fallen off since, but
dude, I loved it. I mean, that's exactly what I was even looking for is
Yeah.
like some community outreach because
Yeah.
in trails, you're just, if you don't have a squad that you're running with every
Yeah.
now and then, you're just out in the woods by yourself all the time.
yeah. And
So it was
that's-
perfect to get like some, different people together, kind of network within the different
Yeah.
communities and get involved in some of the Ann Arbor running. It's been fun.
Yeah, definitely. So Dog Stash like has fizzled out a little bit, just due to life, right? Like 2024, it fell off a bit, but I guess we can just fast forward because we could talk about this all day. But where did we get the idea for Mohican in 2024?
You brought it up. You brought it up because
Okay.
Nick Gap, you paced over there.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's the. Oh,
And
I
you wanted to
forgot
run
about
a 50
that.
miler. And then it was ironic because my father-in-law also ran it the year before, didn't have the race he necessarily wanted
Yeah.
and wanted to go back out there. So I
Yeah.
definitely wanted to run another 50 miler. I was looking for a little bit more hillier terrain anyways. And then you guys both suggested it. And I was like, okay.
All right. So we both get there. What was
Vibes
your-
are awesome.
Vibes were amazing. Like Ohio does it different. I'm like shameful to admit I actually really like that part of Ohio, but man, after like pacing Nick Gap at like 10 p.m. into 4 a.m. 2023, like this was legit. And yeah, our start time was what, 6 a.m. I think it was you, me, and Brad, your father-in-law.
Yeah, we even like rolled in hot at 6 a.m. We had some pizza the night before, I think from Pizza Hut, the local Pizza Hut down the
Nice.
street, did some tent camping. But the bathrooms are great there. Like I said, even on the run today, they have the best like state park bathrooms.
Mohican Adventures does.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Not a publicity stunt for them, but
No.
like if it were,
That's where you want to be,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was a great day for it. Honestly, not bad weather at all. And my whole goal going into it was not to get dropped in the first lap by you, Brad, or like any of my, friends and family out there.
Yeah.
Like just hang on, keep the trailer attached for as long as you can.
Yeah.
And honestly, we had a very relaxed first lap. I was not chatting it up as much because I was laser focused on just not bunking
So
right away.
here's what's funny is like I'll get into how you drop me because that's always fun to talk about.
Kyle led most of the first lap just because, once again, I mean, he beat me in the 50K. I was like, been training with him in Dog Stash. I knew, where your fitness was. And I was like, dude, if I can just, hang around and be good the first lap, I can drag myself through that second lap. But, I mean, and even when you were at the aid stations, you were talking to people, bathroom, laughing, good time. I was like, salt, gel, like, shake hand, I'm out, walking, you know, and then you kind of caught up with me. But we had a good game plan. I mean, honestly, finished
Until
that
you
first.
broke it.
well, yeah. Honestly, it's good to hear your perspective coming into that first lap, and then I can even share mine as well.
Yeah. So mile 27 hits. We're like, all right, we're going to go to the aid station. That's the halfway point. That's where like all your food is. That's where all your like nutrition, fuel, whatever.
You looked at me probably 15 miles into the 50 miler and you were like, this is awesome. I think I love this distance. I was like, that's mistake number one. I was like, that's when I said at the turnaround, we need to have Margaret take a video of you saying that because it never ends like that. It never ends like that.
So Austin left the aid station at mile 27 about 10 minutes before me. I think you went in and like got your stuff, got out, and I was just like chilling with Margaret and my dad, like taking my time. And I'm like, where's Austin? I'm like, whatever, I'll find him later. I like figured you were like a couple minutes up the trail, and I didn't see you for the rest of the race.
Dude, grab my stuff. I start walking on that little bike path right there. And I mean, I walked the whole bike path, even that first little section in, there's a little uphill right there.
Yeah.
Walking up the uphill, getting down the Red Bull, like making sure I get my carbs in, getting the heart rate down. Like, I'm like, dude, I'm wasting way too much time. I'm like, Kyle's way ahead of me. I'm like, veteran move by Kyle. He ditched me at the halfway, at the halfway point. He sped out of there, and he's going to, like, just put me in the dust. So then I just start running, and I'm, like, chasing.
You're running scared.
Kyle. Oh, my gosh, absolutely. Because I'm also trying to figure out where Brad is, And I'm like, I bet Brad's right by. Brad's beat me in every single race leading up to this point.
So once I didn't see you, I was like, I cannot get beat by Brad. That would just be absolutely like devastating for my ego.
Totally.
Which, shout out Brad. You didn't beat either of us that day, but also he's got like several years on us.
Totally.
So, suffice to say, we're gonna wrap up the Mohican section because basically you beat me by 45 minutes.
It's my claim to fame right
It's
now.
his claim to fame is he got me in the 50, but I got him in everything else.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
Yeah, if you want to come run some sub-ultra stuff, I can actually get you fast. I mean, if I do that, though, you're going to start beating me, and I don't want that, so maybe not.
Not a chance. Not a chance.
No. Okay.
Body doesn't do well with running fast.
Yeah. And then I guess the other big piece, which is the Huron 100. So, okay, I guess for Huron... You approached me after watching that documentary. From your experience, like, what was the scoping process like for the live stream? Because
this was completely foreign waters to me. This was all Kyle's wheelhouse. I had no idea how this was going to happen.
I basically told you, like, hey, go to this location and hop on a Discord call with me and let's see if we can hear you.
And sometimes that location wasn't always the right location, but we won't even dive into it. It wasn't perfect by any means. No. It's a 100-mile point-to-point race. It's logistically a nightmare for a live stream crew. I think I had 3 hours of sleep. I ended up sleeping in the back of my car at the finish line. Yep. That way I didn't miss anything because I knew once I got... So this is
Saturday into Sunday because the race started Saturday at, 9 a.m., 10 a.m.?
Amazing start time.
Basically, we stopped streaming maybe 7 p.m. because I was like, it's raining. We're just going to get up early. So I think I got to Proud Lake at like 3 a.m. maybe. And I called you and you didn't answer, unsurprisingly. Probably needed your sleep.
I was sitting there in my car while I was running so I could get heat coming in as well. And
it was cold. This was like, even in June, it was cold at night. Like,
it was.
Comparatively.
100%. I still have never been to the finish, so I didn't even know if I was in the right spot.
Me neither, actually, which is funny because I filmed that entire documentary and basically stopped at the halfway point and was like, I'm done.
That's hilarious. Yeah, we got everything set up. I got out of my car. You were there. Adam was there. Dan was there.
I remember Jack Miller was coming in at 4:30 in the morning. I was like, I don't think I'm gonna have time to get a stream going. Let's just get the baseline set up. So we set up the finish, I think, with the generator I brought because they didn't have another one at the time, and we plugged in that little tiny light, which somehow
miracle maker. Without that light, it would have not worked.
No, Jack would have ran into the dark and been like, great, and Jameson too.
Yep.
So.
Dan and Adam didn't go to sleep at all. So they were still,
completely
the Walking
zombies.
Dead, coming through. We were trying to get everything set up. And they both came through. So we were a little bit more prepared for Evan when he was coming through. I was able to get on the bike. I was able to kind of meet him probably a mile and a quarter outside the...
Proud Lake is relatively flatter than some of the other sections of the course. So very bikeable.
Totally. Well, not a biker, but I'm not a biker.
You're not a biker, not yet.
Yeah, so we were very sleep deprived with one hand following Evan White.
Don't try this at home, kids.
He was with his pacer, dropped his pacer, started to get like a 6-minute mile at the end of his 100.
Yep, no big deal.
Almost outkicked me on the bike at that point.
I remember in the footage, there's like like his pacer is just like, go, because like you're gonna die if you don't like pass him, and the trail's like slightly closing in, and
there's roots and rocks, and I'm trying to like get all my energy. I emptied the tank on him just to catch up to him, but it was like one of the coolest moments.
And that's one of the like best footage moments of the year, I think, which actually is a very nice segue. That exact stream moment was reposted by Caleb Bowen, his coach at Marshall.
West Virginia god.
Right?
Yeah,
the West Virginia
absolutely.
guy who also went to Western States and also was on that West Virginia documentary when he was an assistant coach and did a 100-mile for the first time. So like that was a very full circle moment for me when I saw that, and I was just like, oh wow, like people actually care. Like this is so cool.
Exactly. And it's just like that, one moment out of a whole like 100-mile race where you can capture that. Other people can see it. They can see like your finish and everything, and they can be a part of this experience. You can share it with them. I remember going up to him with his family like all around after, and I was like, dude, that was freaking awesome.
Yeah.
That was like so fun to be a part of.
Yeah.
But there was a ton of cool moments, and that's what I was even talking with Adam with, is like those are the opportunities that anything that you can capture is better than nothing. Like something 100%. Is always better than nothing. So
I mean, the fact that we got most of the finishes for the 100 too were amazing. The thing I want to do this year is capture the 50 finishes, because we really just got a few of them. So okay, here on, and then there's no real major event for each of us since then until today. So
yeah, no, not at all.
So there's the intro. So, first real question. That's
great.
I know, right?
Here we go.
Words, yeah. Are you a Michigan Wolverine now?
Nah, the hair just stood up on the back of my neck.
He's like, I'm about to throw my microphone at all the gear in here.
Yeah,
Anyway.
Good old state of Ohio. O-H-I-O.
I'm not even going to get into it.
Yeah, that's probably the best bet. That's probably the best bet for everyone.
I'll start saying some things I don't want to say, and then spiral. All right.
It's good friendly competition. That's the foundation of our relationship anyway.
That's true. It's true. And it's not like this menacing thing either. So, okay, I guess first question, that's a real question. What inspires you currently in your day-to-day? Because I know we've been talking about ultras, but I know you work in sales. We haven't really talked into that. We don't even know what each other does outside of like this ultra space very much. So I'm just curious.
No, that's a great question, right? And I think it can change on a daily basis, weekly basis. Like, it can change all the time, depending on when you ask me. But I think people overcoming adversity, people helping other people, optimistic people, glass half full kind of people.
Yeah.
Honestly, a lot of people, obviously, if you boil it down to one thing, I think people definitely inspire me. I enjoy like having people to lean on, having different relationships, friends, family, they mean a lot to me. So even like when you think about trail running and not having, that was just an outlet for me for strictly like physical fitness and health. And then, as you start to do dog stash and everything, it's like, oh, you can do this with friends. You can do, have good conversation out here.
Different modalities of like approaching life, I guess.
Totally. Yeah. So, I mean, that definitely inspires, even when you think about the trail scene, like inspiring people hitting the distances that they never could think that they could hit, like overcoming challenges that they never thought that they could. Like that is so inspiring in so many different ways. And it like motivates me to go out and try something new or, do something that I haven't tried before.
Than the usual. I do want to say, like, I like to bring it back to diversity too. Like, obviously we're two white men talking like many other white men on podcasts have always done. And I think representation is super important. And that's why I'm trying to have like very different guests from very different backgrounds, like on the pod. How would you recommend other people get inspired when, say, they don't see someone that looks like them, or, acts like them in sport or just in life, like, and we might not have that experience specifically, but I'm just curious, like, how you would approach it if you were looking at it from the outside.
There are definitely people that get into ultra running just because they're trying to overcome something, running from some demons. And like, I think everyone to some capacity, like running can help that, especially their mental capacity. So, you know, regardless, just like having a genuine curiosity, why are you out here? What brought you, you know, even to today's group run, or like, you know, what goals are you training for this year? Sometimes it's never to race or competition or anything. Yeah. It's like, I'm just here to get some fresh air. And it's like, I love that. That's love amazing. That.
And I think it was really cool. Like, even with the stream, like, we had just regular everyday people, all different, just kind of like popping by the stream and just like, what you doing?
Totally. I mean, and that's the beauty of ultra running as well. Like, anyone can do it. And the crazy thing is like, you're going to break boundaries the more and more you get around the ultra community. Like, you set these limitations on different people, and like, you know, hey,
there's like a little bit of a gatekeeping element, I think, that prevents people from going in. But I guess what I was getting at before is like, we need like different ethnic backgrounds and different people of different colors like coming through, and like we want you there. And that's like, it's hard to like explain that when like we're all white, you know. Totally.
So, no,
I don't know,
there's a place for everyone, for sure.
There's a place for everyone, and I think like over time it will get better. It's just hard because I mean, it's not necessarily hard for us, but like I gravitate towards people who are not like me, and I think that's just something I enjoy. But
absolutely.
So curiosity.
I mean, and having a genuine curiosity, where you're not
just
being,
like a
being respectful. I mean, like, and I think every time you have that approach in any kind of capacity of life, you're gonna learn something where you can better use it later on.
Oh, definitely.
Rather than drawing, you know, some assumptions or anything like that.
Some assumptions, and like, there's plenty of that in the world right now, especially. Won't name names, but you know.
Lead with love.
Lead with love. Oh, I love it. Haha. Next question on my actual list. What is your favorite recipe for workouts or cooking? We kind of talked this over.
Yeah, before, I know. This is where I give a shout out to my wonderful wife, Kate, for...
Shout out, Kate.
Yeah, just being a phenomenal cooker. And honestly, she makes sure I stay out of the kitchen. She likes having control over the kitchen. I usually mess things up when I go to the kitchen. So, I mean, you know, I'm doing dishes. I'm trying to take out the trash, other things like that. But... I mean, we eat a ton of pasta. We eat a ton of pizza. You know, she tries different TikTok recipes and cookbook recipes. She likes to dabble in a bunch of new different things and try this and try that. But
experimental.
Yeah. So whatever. And usually we definitely do some carbs on like a Thursday, Friday leading up to a long run. Yeah. But other than that, noodles in. Yeah, I just sit at the dinner table, like eat what's in front of me, and it's the best life ever. Go. Yeah.
That's awesome. It's funny because I take on the cooking role with Margaret a little bit more. It's not that she can, I just don't think she enjoys it. So I don't know. And my mom, bless her heart, like all the Filipino cooking, and like, she's just like, Asian moms are just kind of like that. You know, they're very like endearing, like, oh, did you eat? So yeah, it's just always a good time. What's your favorite meal though? Like, if you had to pick one, you're on death row. You're about to run the Barkley marathons 5 times over. I don't know.
That's a great question. I mean, before races, it's always like Olive Garden pasta. Okay. To be honest, and like spaghetti, red sauce. You know, and like, try not to overdo it. I try not to eat too much. But dude, like
some pasta sounds so good right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's a comfort food. So like, we definitely, Kate and I, enjoy pasta. We have pasta a decent amount, especially throughout the summer as we're carb loading and different stuff like that for different races, adventures, events, all that kind of stuff. I will say that I'm not like, brown sugar Pop-Tart is definitely something that I also rock before like a Woodstock race or something like that. You're camping, you can't just like get
Sometimes
your breakfast.
You just gotta get it in,
Yeah,
like whatever the thing is.
The thing about ultra running is it's better to have something than nothing, right? And then obviously you want to have a little bit healthier energy as better as you can, but it's better to have something rather than nothing. So even if you can get in a brown sugar Pop-Tart, that helps.
What about that weird spring
What? Spring Energy? Are that what you're talking about? I don't. So the only gels that I use are Precision, to be honest.
So that's, sorry, that was a terrible segue.
Yeah.
And beef that happened last year and it's probably no longer relevant. Or maybe it is.
Did you use Spring Energy?
I did once and I loved it. That's the crazy thing.
You were bought in.
I was bought in and then I'm like, wait. So I don't know. I don't know what to believe. I'm just like, if I don't know, I'm going to avoid it and use what I know works. It was just a weird conundrum.
I stick with credible brand. Shout out Precision.
So we kind of talked this over already, but you talk fuel. So you like pasta before a run, or I guess before a race. What about during a run? Like, what's your go-to gels or fuel? Or
I'll also give one more shout out that I saw that I absolutely love is Pickle Pops. Have you ever seen
Pickle Pops?
Have you ever seen the frozen Pickle Pops?
That sounds amazing.
You can get them on Amazon.
Okay.
Even if you think about to the first dog stash, and it's probably very appropriate because Aid Station Cuisine, your question was an icebreaker was, what's your favorite Aid Station food?
Oh my gosh.
Remember that?
Yeah, that's where it originally came from, but I just forgot about it.
And I am not someone that like eats during a ton of ultras. Like I said, I go gels. I don't try to have a ton of
Aid Station food. Yeah, that's where this all started, isn't it?
I had a life-changing moment from one of those jumbo pickles at the Woodstock because I was dead, and that sodium and like vinegar
just
like
kicks in. Good to go.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
And so Pickle Pops, whatever, ended up having a sweat test. I need a ton of sodium. It's like 1,000 milligrams in one Pickle Pop. And if you think about it, it's really good for like heat as well because you're cooling off your abdomen to where it's not like overheating and everything. So anything frozen that you can get down is going to help you kind of like cool off, and you're going to get the sodium. So
we're not sports scientists, by the way. We'll defer to Jess Reynolds on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it. And then how about like after a run? Because I know like after Mohican, I just gobbled down that brisket.
Anything I can get my hands on.
Yeah, just anything.
Yeah, I mean,
easy.
I'm someone that's extremely hungry. Like after my runs, I'm not someone that it's like, oh no, I need a little bit. Yeah. Like I need to let my stomach settle down. No. Yeah. I can stomach it all. Give it here now. Trying to get it in as soon as I can. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I feel that. I know you're a traveled man. You've been all over the country multiple times. Low-key jealous. So I've also been to a lot of places, but it's like the same two places. So can you tell us like some of your best travel stories, or maybe just like one that's like really funny or pivotal for you?
I was about to say, it's funny that you say that because like honestly, growing up not with like a super wealthy family, we definitely didn't do a ton of traveling, and I didn't see most of the country, especially west of the Mississippi, until I graduated college, and finally was able to take some time out there. And honestly, it was because of ultra running. We ended up going out to Sonoma for Lake Sonoma. Yeah. Went out to Auburn, California for canyons. Went out to Arizona for Black Canyon. So like all of those were all ultra related. And I mean, that's a big reason why I got into it in the first place. Like I enjoy the outdoors. I like being outside. My friends always make fun of me because I'm not like a movie guy. I don't know any actors and actresses. I like just played outside when I was younger. You know
I
what
love
I mean?
it. Like you and Quinn are like from that. It must be that like Southern Ohio cut.
I mean, dude, there's not too much going on. No. You know what I mean? We have Ohio State. We have LeBron James. Like other than that, you like go play outside in the cornfields. You know, enjoy whatever you can get your hands on.
Make honey. From the bees.
So
it's not a metaphor. It's legit. I'm poorly remembering my conversation with Quinn, and I just remember his dad was like a beekeeper. And
I mean, you gotta maximize whatever land you have. It's always flat. There's great sunsets in Ohio just because of all the cornfields. It sets over beautifully. Yeah. But so I mean, most of my traveling has came from ultra running, but to be honest, like I want to travel and see the most that I can in my lifetime. Like if I can get to all 7 continents, if I can get to some of the most remote regions in the world, like that would be super cool to me, because like not many people get to see that. And I think, you know, the more that you get out to nature, you also like appreciate the little things. You appreciate like a good warm bed, you know, a hot water shower, like all those little things. You go out on a backpacking trip, you forget something, and you know, you're SOL. You can't do anything about it, you know?
You're like, I'm in it now.
You
and I think that's
prepared.
what ultras are, is like this kind of detachment from society, and in some ways enough to the point where you're in nature, but you still have that like technological like piece still there in some capacity.
Totally. You start to dip your toes in it to it a little bit more, because what I like about ultras too, it allows you to get to a physical fitness to where you can go out on your own and be in the backcountry and be like confident in your own physical fitness because you have done an ultra. And you know, ultras are a perfect time to fail because you have a whole support system around you. You have a medical staff. You have like aid stations. It's controlled
chaos.
Totally. But I mean, I always talk to Tomas, my buddy, about it, because he's kind of like the adventure buddy. We all go on a ton of different adventures together. He's been around the country multiple different times, so he loves the desert. We went out to Moab as well. And like once you start getting out there and like you're all alone, you have no cell service, like you get under the stars that you haven't seen in a while, and you're like, I'm so small, I'm so puny, my challenges, my issues in life really don't
insignificant.
I mean, it all kind of melts away and you can really just enjoy it. And I think, you know, it forces you to have a little gratitude. So I mean, I didn't even answer your question there. You were telling me about the best travel stories. I don't have any too crazy travel stories.
Well, I feel like you're just living in the moment, so you're not necessarily like remembering specific, like, oh, I did this thing. You're very focused on the journey, and I think a lot of people are like, oh, well, I did this one thing this one time, and I'm never gonna do that again.
Totally. I mean, but I think the cool thing even about just adventures in the United States, and you think about even the Midwest, like there's so much beauty all over, and you don't have to go to a big city, you don't have to go to the Grand Canyon, you don't have to go to these crazy places that, you know, people have already,
even like Northern Ohio, Toledo, cool spots around there.
Michigan is an untapped state. I mean, it is, because we all live in it now and we see the tourism that comes to the UP and to the west side and all that.
Everyone
kind of stuff.
talks about like the lakes, and I'm like, that's cool. Have you noticed the trails? We're so lucky around this part of the Midwest. I feel like there's not, I don't know, and maybe it's just because it's the podcasts I do or don't listen to, but I feel like we have a very rich like topography around us, with watersheds, the lakes, the Great Lakes, and it's untapped. You're right.
Well, and you get more into the culture. That's what I like as well. Is like when you start to go into these more remote regions, you have to lean on the people around a little bit more to get around, to better understand like what you're getting into. Even when you think about the UP, like people lean on people up there, and that's the beauty of like the community aspect of it.
Have you been to Marquette?
I have not. Like it's a place I definitely want to go. Pictured Rock. Like I have a paddleboard. Love paddleboarding on the Great Lakes, and that's definitely a place I want to go. And the beauty is
circle tour on the paddleboard.
That'd
be wild.
That would be insane.
That's like the next ultra marathon type thing. We're gonna take a 5. We'll be right back.
Yes, potty break.
So real talk before we get into anything else. 2026, what 50 are we racing so I can get redemption and learn about calories or learn about fueling, and I don't know.
Oh, I'm gonna have to find the hilliest one in the Midwest. I'm thinking like a Kentucky one, you know, where it's just a bunch of gut punching hills. Whichever one is gonna tear up your legs, it cannot be flat. I will not do anything less than 5
Jokes
to
on
7,000.
you though, because I've been doing hill training since
I know. Well, that's why I went and started doing speed work, is because it's like
we're doing the opposite modalities to beat each other.
Yeah, you gotta sharpen the dull knife. You gotta
sharpen the dull knife. I love it. So 2026, we'll pick something.
The Huron 50 miler. No, I'm kidding.
Waterloo Pinckney 50. Except that wouldn't work.
No.
One of these years, I am gonna race the 50.
In the Huron?
Yes.
Yeah, we have to.
We have to. Maybe that's where we race each other, but it's gonna be in like several years when like this live stream stuff is dialed.
35. When you're 35,
when I'm 35, so a while. You heard it here first, folks. So, all right. Well, how would you like to spend the rest of our time today?
I had a few questions for you. The first one, well, because we covered most of everything that we wanted to talk about.
Well, this will cover our bases if we didn't.
Yeah, and I mean, I have to figure out the origin story of Kyle. Like, you have to tell me about high school Kyle and your relationship with running and skiing and all that kind of stuff to build context of where you are now.
Yeah. What about, like, more specifically, like, do you want to know? Like,
so, I mean, track or cross country?
Yeah, so I did both starting in 7th and 8th grade.
Which one did you like more?
I was way better at track. Ironically, I did the 4x1 and 4x8.
Wow.
Which might explain why you can't beat me in the flats.
Yeah. Which runner were you?
What do you mean?
Like 1, 2, or 3?
Oh, relay
4,
leg?
Yeah.
Usually pop-off or what's the last one? Anchor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Depended. And when I got to high school, I dropped like 20 seconds in the 800 over 3 years because of the ACL tear.
Because you were it sounds like from good runs with you guys and everything, like you guys were a good running school.
We were a pretty good running school. I mean, in all fairness, like we were in one of the toughest regions in the entire country. No, I don't know about country, but in the state for sure.
Totally.
Milford, Brighton, Lakeland. These are places you know now, but like at the time, like these were workhorses in the Michigan MHSAA like running scene. So yeah.
And some notable runners from your school, like
some notable runners.
Nick
Gap did not actually go to my school. He went to Milford. So Milford, this is another thing. I went to Heartland. Low key, I don't know if I would go for academics, but I would have loved to have been on Milford's actual running team.
No, that's cool. That's good context because I thought you guys were all from the same school. So this is me learning more about you guys.
I'm a bandwagon Milford fan.
Yeah, honestly. There it comes out. Perfect. And then
I ran there all the time.
Well, and even through high school, you ran cross country.
Yeah, so I was kind of like, not a huge fan of like Heartland's cross country culture at the time.
Okay.
Just based on our coaching decisions and a whole bunch of other stuff I won't get into. And it's old news at this point. Yeah, smart.
Yeah.
So ironically, like kind of what I'm doing now and why I reach out to people like you and just people I don't know very well is like I was the kid in high school like talking to all the other teams, just like bugging them. They're like, "Who is this Zuko guy?" Like
Zuko.
That was my nickname. I was like Prince Zuko from Avatar.
Dude, yeah. I love Avatar.
Oh, really?
Like during COVID,
Did you binge through it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think we bought like all 3 or 4 discs for like $50. It was like way overpriced even, and we were like,
doesn't matter. Yeah, gotta watch it.
And so, your favorite sport was?
So before, and I kind of mentioned this on the PRP, but it was downhill alpine ski racing. I had done that. I basically started skiing at like the age of 2, and my parents put me through like the Mogul Mouse thing at Mount Brighton.
Good for them.
Yeah. And then like at a certain point, I was like causing absolute havoc on the ski hill because like I was just out of control. Like I was like, oh, I can go fast. I'm a young kid, like whatever. And ended up like on my dad's surprise 50th. We were all skiing at Mount Brighton, like my sisters and I like was making these big like super wide turns and crashed into this other person. And, like, my mom thought we were going to have to go to the ER. She was ready to kill me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Of course she was.
Understandably.
Yeah.
And ended up okay. But then after that point, she's like, yeah, we need to get you into ski racing. So if I had to make an analogy, it's like almost like speed training in running, where you're basically, so there's two different disciplines. There's slalom, and then there's giant slalom, and then I guess super giant slalom, super G.
Couldn't even tell you the difference.
Yeah, so it's really just how wide the gates are apart.
Fair.
With Mount Brighton, there wasn't always options to like get the gates wide because you're working with limited space, but the slalom being so narrow and like a lot of different combinations of how you navigate around the gates, I think really let me enjoy mountain biking first and then trail running much later, because it's like the same boom, 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 boom. You have to have the agility to actually like excel. And I made states my freshman year, but it was also because I started so early with the skiing and the ski racing.
Totally.
And then I tore my ACL 2014. And that was a huge paradigm shift where I had ran freshman year for college, not that old, freshman year for high school, and like had a great season. I was so stoked for track because I was coming off again the 4x1 4x8 season from middle school, and then it was like crap, like full reset. Honestly, like went into a really bad depression, as much as like a 14-year-old can.
Yeah.
So
how was that recovery process?
Interestingly, I'm gonna shout out Rob Basidlo on the pod. He became my coach. They always call me Junior. He was like a strength coach at that time. Yeah, Rob like got me into shape, made sure that was the first time I like learned about mobility and that sort of thing and how important that is, which is extended now into yoga. So you're right. You're making the dotting the T's, crossing the I's. I'm doing that backwards. Oh
yeah, no, it makes sense because I'm always like, Kyle, what are we doing? You have like 8 hours of yoga this week. Like, yeah, dude's putting in the time on the yoga mat. But also, I'm sure it helps out with, injury prevention, all that kind of stuff as well.
That's the only reason I was able to run basically and break all my PRs in 2023.
Yeah.
Like, was that mobility and trail running. But that combination was lethal.
Yeah.
So.
And then, okay, last question to kind of finalize this little portion is, okay, inspiration, and we kind of already touched on it, but just to even hear from your mouth, inspiration with all of the content creation around running.
Yeah, a couple sources. One of my favorite content creators out there is Billy Yang.
The man. Shout out Bill.
Shout out Billy. And Charlie Salami and Hillary, of course.
Amazing.
Yes. I think his documentary with Zach Miller, I definitely cried at that, and it's so stupid at the same time too. Like the film starts and Zach's like just crawling and like wincing in pain, and you're just kind of like, you're curious, right? You're like, why is he like what? Like, you're just so confused, and then you learn about his story and how much Billy like put emphasis and time on telling that story. I think storytelling is like what inspires me personally, and I have always aspired to tell stories but like never knew how, and I guess this is like one way I'm trying.
Dude, you have done a few different ways, even just like the short time I've known you, through live streaming, through YouTube, through this now. I mean, like, you have a ton of different mediums that you do it. And I think that even is what pulled me into it. Like, something I always talk about is the significance of storytelling, And so being able to do that well, like, is hard. Like being able to capture the stuff.
I don't know
at
how
the
I'm
right
gonna chop
moment.
this episode up, honestly.
Yeah, I mean,
so
like,
much crazy content. Like,
it's gonna be perfect because, like, I think even it'll be interesting for me and how it like comes out as media and content.
Yeah, you nervous about how this will sound when it's released?
I mean, I probably just won't even listen to it. It's just like I'll get feedback.
I have to listen to it 1,000 times after editing, so that's always fun. Last question before we go.
Brilliant.
What is the adventure you're most excited for this year?
Ooh. Actually, here's a good one. Western States of 2025.
Oh.
I'm super excited for that because obviously being a trail runner and getting into the sport, Western States is like the Super Bowl of ultra running.
To clarify, you are not running it.
No.
What's the plan?
Just the luxury of going out, helping out crewing a little bit. Shea Acolano got in through the lottery this year. So it's super fun to just be a part of like one of those historical races, see the community. Like that's where trail running is at its peak.
Yeah.
You're going to run into all of the Billy Yangs, the Jamil, everyone's out there, that week. All the biggest athletes, like even when you think about just a competition standpoint, like Hayden Hawks, Jim Walmsley, David Roche.
Rod, maybe.
Like Killian's supposed to potentially get out there if he gets a golden ticket. And for someone like that who came up on those people into the trail running scene, I mean, I would be like a little boy in a candy shop. So I'm going to take the camera out there. I'm going to enjoy it as much as I can. I keep trying to tell Kate, I want to go out there for Trail Con, which is like the Wednesday before. The weekend before is the VK race with Broken Arrow.
Kilometer.
I mean, like, there's just so much that you can get out there within 10 days. So I'm definitely excited for that. And plus, like, California, mid of June is going to be a fun time to be out there. So
I feel like I've always been inspired by your travel. And to hear you say, like, you haven't always traveled is crazy to me because I feel like that's your spirit. And, I don't know.
Well, dude, awesome. I appreciate you having me. And, a lot of my inspo comes from you, too.
Yeah, dude. Of course.
Well, perfect.
Awesome. All right, guys. We'll see you on the next episode. Take care. Bye-bye. Say bye, Aaron.
Adios.
Love you all. Love y'all. Peace. Thanks for checking out an episode from the Aid Station Cuisine podcast, Season 1. If you like the podcast, please share it with all your friends. Give it a rating on whatever platform you're on. And stay tuned to our PawAnRepeat Media Instagram for more information on upcoming episodes and other podcasts we may have available. Other than that, I hope you all have a great day. And, take care.